Hi, Grace.
Hi,
How are you?
I'm fine. How are you?
I'm good. So, can you? I don't know why I always look at my phone to look at this question, even though I know what it says. Um, can you
I
state?
get it.
Well, since I already said your name, can you tell us your age and your year in SAIC?
So I am 19 in a month. No, 2 months I'll be turning 20, which is super scary. And then I am going to be a junior this semester at SAIC.
And then, can you tell us, like what areas you focus in? Well, like during your what your studies, you
Yeah.
know.
So when I first came to the school, I really didn't know what I wanted to do. So I did like sculpture for my first semester. Uh, what's the right word?
What kind of
Like art.
sculpture? Like ceramic or like
It
just
was
like
just like an
anything?
intro to sculpture thing.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, I took the intro to sculpture because I thought that I was gonna do that. Also, that's my dog, and I ended up hating it. So then I was like, I gotta rework it.
Mm-hmm.
And then I did painting, which I kind of liked, but it wasn't really my thing. And I took an intro to photography with Robert Clark Davis, who I highly recommend. And it was like one of my favorite classes I've taken. So at the moment, my focus is probably like analog photography, but I also did ceramics last semester, which I'm continuing next semester. And I'm kind of venturing into a little bit of analog, like film with video and stuff like that.
I did not know all
Very
that, and
vast.
we've been like friends for since freshman year.
I
Wow.
know. But I feel like we would just kind of talk about things going on. We would never be like, well, let me tell you about my practice.
Yeah,
You know what
like
I mean?
because I feel like the practice that I was most aware of was photography.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like yeah,
Well, that's because I photographed you and everything.
yeah. Um, let's see. Well, also no, I did know about your painting because like I've seen your paintings.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not good.
Yes, they are. Shut up. Okay, then can you talk about like how your experience has been so far and like those areas that you've talked about?
Yeah. So I know probably a lot of people said this, but the teacher is like 50% of like what the class will be like, and then the students are the other 50, or I'd say almost 25, and then the other 25 are like materials and that. But the teacher is what really matters because I've had really crappy. Oh, can I swear?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I've
Kathleen
had really
went
crap.
off. She went off.
Who did?
Kathleen.
Oh, I love that.
Mm-hmm.
I could see her doing that. She is a bad bitch.
Mm-hmm.
So the teacher really matters because the teacher is what makes the atmosphere feel comfortable and like welcomes critiques. And if they're a boring lecturer, it's going to be a terrible class. I do not recommend.
I
But
know what
also, you
class you're talking about.
and then I a lot of the you gotta really research your teachers on the database. I don't know, I didn't know about this first semester, but the database on the website, which shows you all the classes, all the teachers, and like basically grades them from student responses, are so important. Um, but then again, you can also get sandwiched in with like a bunch of students who don't really care about being there, and that's also kind of terrible. But you even those types of classes, I've found like one or two people, or even like five, who are on like the same level as me about caring about the class and like having an engaging discussion. But honestly, for me, teachers really, really matter because all the classes that I loved the teacher.
Mm-hmm.
And the classes I didn't necessarily like were not were because of either the atmosphere of the class or like I said, the teacher, or even sometimes like the sculpture. I loved my sculpture teacher. I just wasn't into like the modern sculpture with like so like super architectural and like cold and like everything's metal, everything's angular.
Mm-hmm.
That was not what I wanted to do. I wanted to like do wood and clay and stuff like that. But for the most part, I've had a really good experience because I actually came to the school not really wanting to go to SAIC because it was not one of my top choices. I had a really tough, um, not to make you like feel bad for me, but I had a really tough college, like entering into college experience because I applied to 10 schools and I only technically got admitted to 3 of them,
Mm-hmm.
and then the 4 of them were the wait list, but I never got off those wait lists because I mean, thank God our class is so progressive and like all want to go to college, but then like you don't get off the wait list and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
And the other 3 I didn't get into. So it was really down to the SAIC and this art school in Ohio that I wasn't really sure about, and this liberal arts school in Wisconsin, which I did not like. So I didn't really want to come to SAIC. And honestly, if you find the right people and the right teachers and everything, like, the atmosphere is so great. And like, I think this was like the universe telling me to go here, because I feel so welcome in this community. Especially, like, you'll meet people you don't necessarily like that just happens everywhere. But the people I'm friends with, aka you, make me feel really good about being at the school, and make me so grateful that I went there and I got to meet all these really creative people and artists.
That's so cute. What about like your ceramics and like photography classes specifically?
Like, how were they?
Like, do you feel like your experience so far, do you feel like it's been a good experience so far? Do you feel like you're learning? Do you feel like the resources that are around you are substantial?
Yeah, totally. So for the ceramics department, if you get into the ceramics department, because it's a super competitive
Is it like a program,
department.
or do you mean like the classes, like to be able to like take the
Department,
classes?
sorry. Just the department itself.
Uh-huh.
There's not like a program.
Got
Sorry.
it.
If you get into the department, they have all the clay provided that you need, all of the materials, all the glazes. Most of the staff are super helpful, and like, the teacher I had, who was Emily Willis, she was amazing and was super into like when someone wanted to go outside the box about their ideas, but like wasn't super harsh on the students who weren't necessarily great at the beginning, because I took a wheel throwing class, which is something you definitely are not going to be good at the first time you do it.
Yeah.
And that was really great. Especially, I didn't have to pay for anything in that class. Like, every single thing that I needed was in the glaze studio, or I could make my own clay, or there was clay provided, and everything. And the kilns are free. That department is great when it comes to like not needing to pay for things.
Their funding is fantastic. Oh my god.
Yeah, I know. I'm surprised. I literally was like, I can make whatever I want in here. This is like the first time. Like, the painting department, I had to buy all of my paints, and luckily my mom was a painter, so I had a bunch of oil paints from when she was in college. But like, I think my friend Tolu, he said he spent $400 on paints alone. And that's only the beginning, because you have to stretch your canvases, you gotta buy the glass palettes, and if you want to buy mediums, you gotta do that too. And then for the photography department, my intro class, the only thing I paid for was printing, because that's the only thing that for the intro class, you do digital only, and then you print it out. And I don't own a camera, but I just rented them from the media centers, because it's super easy.
The printing can get expensive, depending on how big you print.
The printing can be... Oh, girl, I would cheap out on the printing so bad. I'd be like, oh, I only have 15 prints because I could not afford to make 20, and he'd be like, that's fine.
I remember one time I think I spent $60 on printing. Because I did like various sizes.
Well, and then you mess up. And then that's like $10 down the drain. You mess up, and then there's like $10 down the drain.
Thankfully, that didn't happen. But keep going. Keep talking about how like your different experiences have been.
Yeah, and then I took slow photo this semester, and that was another class where all the chemicals that I wanted were provided. The only thing I paid for, so this was kind of like experimental analog photography, so stuff with dyes and different colored prints. The only thing I had to pay for was the paper that I printed on, and then this clear paper that would be for like negatives if I wanted to make a negative out of the print. So it really depends on the classes, but a lot of the hands-on, like, I know the black and white photography class, they get all their chemicals for free. The large format, same thing. I think for the most part, the most underfunded ones are like, which is surprising because it's like the biggest ones are like the sculpture department. I had to pay for everything. They didn't give me anything. The painting department, the fashion department, I'm sure you have to buy all your fabric yourself and stuff like that. But if you look into the class, like I said, even on the evaluation, some of the students put how much you paid for the class, and you can get into classes where you don't have to pay for anything. Yeah.
So you like the resources in photography and in ceramics? Yeah, you basically, you said, yeah.
Yeah, I think if you're trying to start out with something and you're not really sure of where you want to go into the school, those two departments are great because a lot of the resources are free.
Sorry, I'm looking for my questions.
Oh, it's all good.
What just happened?
You're gonna have to edit so much. You're gonna be like, delete, delete, delete. Grace talked too much. Delete,
No, I
delete.
actually haven't, like, actually all of these I have barely edited anything. I'm gonna be completely honest.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
yeah, I don't think I've, like, for, like, if I edit something, it's like someone having, like, a coughing fit, or, like
Fair.
they, like, their parents called them. Like, that's it. Like, I'm even
Yeah.
probably not gonna edit out this. Oh my gosh, I think I just deleted all my questions.
How?
I don't know. Oh my gosh. And
Did
I've
you
asked these questions so many times. Let's see if is there like a trash section? Yes, there is a recent. Oh, yep, I did delete it. Oh my gosh.
Oh my god, how did you do that?
I don't even know. Let's see. How can I move you out of deleted? Recover. I
Is it
think
on
I
your
just
notes?
accidentally, yeah, I found it. I think I just accidentally pressed delete. Well, people watching, this is what happens when you're a little tired and stressed. Okay.
Yeah.
What about your critiques in, like, your classes? Let's talk about critiques.
I have so much to say about that.
Okay.
um, okay. I think the critiques I've all had, for the most part, have been awesome. My teachers always give me really good feedback, and they're usually really honest about it. I think when you're a freshman, they go a little easier on you because they don't want you to feel discouraged super early on in your career at SAIC. The students, however, that's a little different. I've definitely had kids who don't say anything throughout their any critiques, and they want everyone to critique theirs, so it's like unfair. I've also had kids just be blatantly mean to me. Like, I have cried. I will admit, I have cried at a critique. It was my first one too. I was so mad.
For what
The student was
class?
like, it was for research, so it wasn't like. But he was like, I don't get why you made this. I was like, because we had an assignment. Okay, whatever. And I also had this one girl told me that my photography looks like stock photo images, but actually hers did. That's all I have to say. Anyways, that's why I think the students are really important, because a lot of the feedback comes from the students. But my teachers, if they saw that students were being really responsive, they would just go off about it. And like, they know that if the students in their class aren't going to talk about it a ton, that they can compensate for that.
Mm-hmm.
And for the most part, I've had really good feedback on my work. You can't always have a good critique. I mean, there's obviously times where you run out of time and it's not how you want it to be, so you don't even care about the critique, or you take a class like core and research. Core was a class that was all about being experimental, so a lot of the critiques I didn't really mind when people were harsh, because it's not something I really cared about.
Mm-hmm.
But in my my studios, sorry. In my studios, I think that the teachers did a really good job at that. And for the most part, I've only had like 2 students actually be kind of mean to me. But as long as you talk during other people's critiques, usually they will then respond in the same way, because it's about the give and take when you're doing a critique. It's like, I will critique everybody's work so that I can expect that at least half of them will, or whoever feels like talking about it, because then they know that I also acknowledge them as an artist, and I think that they're also at the same level as me. Like, when I see people don't critique, I'm like, do you not think I'm at the same level as you? You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But I think as you move forward and higher in the classes, like you start going to 3,000 and 4,000 level classes, that's also probably, I haven't taken those, but I'm sure that's when the critiques become much more, like pinpointed and harsh.
Mm-hmm. Gotcha.
But in a good.
Yeah. It's all supposed to be beneficial to your practice.
Right.
Let's see. Do you have a class that you've hated? Well, I know you do. But
Well, it's actually not our art history class.
really? Because you hated that class.
I did, but I took a different art history that I hated even more.
Which
It
one?
was.
Because, like, the next semester we had that class together and we loved that teacher.
Oh, yeah. My first semester this year.
Oh.
Sophomore year. I'm not gonna say names, but I can say what the class is, right?
Yeah. People have outed teachers.
That is so funny. Okay, it is the early to ancient Native American art history. So let me say, she is a white woman, which is a little iffy for me, because learning about a culture that you're not a part of is a little bit kind of white
Uncomfortable.
savory, and is a little uncomfortable. And I think she's really knowledgeable about it, but her lectures were so goddamn boring. I could not stay awake. And and she would give us quizzes every single week on 40-page readings. How can I do 40 pages of reading and remember everything? I swear to God, I would do the reading and I'd get a C on the quiz because I wouldn't remember how specific her questions were. I barely passed that class. I literally didn't think I was going to pass it. And it's so funny because I have a friend who took a different class with her, and they loved it. So, I don't know. And I'm not one of those kids, like, I like art history, and I'm not one of those kids who...
You're very good at art history, I think.
Oh my god. Can I tell you an art history class that I loved?
Yeah, that's actually a different question, like a class that you love.
Okay, I'll answer that after. But I also am not like, ew, a quiz, but a quiz every week on oddly specific questions on a 40-page reading, too much. I mean, one whole class, which is 3 hours, she showed us rocks that have been supposedly painted with, like, Native American symbols and stuff like that, and I literally raised my hand. I was like, how do we know this isn't, like, some teenager being like, ha ha ha? She's like, well, we don't. And I was like, great. Thank you so much for answering my question. I do not want to look at rocks for 2 more hours. But then my grade dropped, and then I was like, oh, I'll be nice to her because I don't want to go on and take her class again. Anyways, yeah, I don't like the Native American. And I also just think it's really problematic when a white person teaches about a culture they aren't a part of. Especially when it comes to, like, black art or Native American art, you know, like, it's just, like, it's so ingrained in their culture that how can you know so much about it if you're not a part of it?
Yeah, no, I see what you're saying.
I mean, do you go to rap class? Like, a white man teaches that. I was like,
I heard that. That was a little
wrong.
uncomfortable. That was a little uncomfortable to hear. Because I have friends that took that class. And they were
he's
like...
a ginger. That's even worse. I'm sorry.
It's okay.
Watching, but I'm just saying.
No, yeah, like, it is a bit weird when white people teach about cultures. Like, I get that, like, you can, like, go to school to, like, learn about it because, like, it interests you, but I guess, like, when you're teaching people, it does come off weirdly. Especially, like, in our current...
You're taking away a job from somebody who's actually part of that community.
Yeah. Well, do you want to talk about the class that you loved?
Yes. Okay. My favorite photography teacher. If you're going to do photography, this man is your man. He's a little cuckoo. I mean, his name is Robert Clark Davis. He goes by Clark. He's great. I love him. He does tell you things. You know, the first week in meeting him, like, oh, I'm not allowed to be in the dark with kids for more than 10 seconds. Or, one time he pulled out a plastic knife, and I said, why do you have a plastic knife? And he said, oh, my parole officer doesn't let me use metal. So, you know, if that's not really your vibe, I understand, but he's
but
so knowledgeable.
Is it, like, for real that he can't be in the dark? Oh, okay.
No, he's like 70, and you know those, like, really old jokes that, like, old men make, and you're like, ha ha ha, I'm a little uncomfortable by this. It's kind of like that. And, like, one time he was like, I'm glad I'm not a recovering alcoholic, just an alcoholic. I was like, sir, there are people here whose parents are actual alcoholics, or they are. But also, he's completely joking. And when he told me one time he did cross the line, and he apologized. Like, he knows when he's too far. And the ceramics teacher I took, Emily Wills, she's really great, super knowledgeable. She is an amazing hand builder, and I don't know if she'll be teaching the wheel throwing class anymore, but she teaches a class called Intro to Clay. It's great. I'm taking her class again this semester. An art history teacher that I really love that I've only had once, but his name is Giovanni. I think Alloy? I don't know how to say his last name. It's A-L-O-I. And he did the 20th century photography class, and that was so good. My favorite art history class I've ever taken at the school. He was so nice. I mean, I might be a little bit, like, favored towards him because, he gave me a really good response on my last art history paper, and I was like, wow, But his class was really interesting. I loved his lectures. He would take us to the, is it the Columbia Museum of Photography? That's like literally a block away from Furtis. He took us there like 3 times, which is great because then you see like students' work. And yeah, his class was great. And it's also something like I didn't realize this. I don't know if this sounds silly, but like obviously I'm going to be more into photography because that's what I'm focusing on. Like I was interested in Native American art and everything. I mean, besides her being a bad teacher, but I think focusing on something that you're also doing like in your practice really helps you stay engaged in that class. Like I know there's fashion kids who took the history of fashion and they didn't like it. So it really depends on the person.
They didn't like that one because it's problematic because it's a very white gaze scope of fashion, and it's at least depending on the teacher, because there is Caroline, because there's like one teacher that teaches
lady.
Yeah, there's like that lady, and then there's Caroline who teaches like a different kind of class. I think she teaches like over the summer. Caroline's amazing. But like I think the issue with like the other lady is that it's so whitewashed, and it's like she doesn't really talk about other cultures except white fashion, and white fashion got their things from like, yeah. So it's like it's a little problematic. Yeah, because I know a girl named Shelby. She's in the fashion department too. She's the only black girl. She's the only other one. And we're not even in the same class, like same section. And she's definitely.
It's such a dominated thing by white people in a bad way.
I honestly feel like it's more dominated by the Asian community.
Oh really?
Yeah, like in our class, there was only like maybe 5, 6 white people, and then maybe like equal amounts of people from the Asian community. But I feel like
international kids or just Asian
international.
Okay. I mean, I get that because like kind of the whole hype beast thing started in Asia, and their version of like streetwear is so different. Like it's so much more experimental and fun there than it is here. So
they do just also have really good craftsmanship. Like my teacher's Yoshi's from Japan, and like the school she went to was just whoa. Yeah, that's all I can say.
I feel like if the school was cheaper, it would be a lot more accessible to a lot more people.
Yeah.
I mean, even people like who are white who aren't at my economic wealth. You know what I mean? So I apologize for my ancestors.
Let's see. Well, I appreciate I guess.
I know, right? I can't do anything about it now.
How do you feel about SAIC right now? Like, do you feel like there are things that need to be changed about it, or do you like?
Yes.
Oh yeah, go ahead, go off.
Okay, like I said, I think it should be a lot cheaper. I think SAIC is one of those schools that a lot of kids look at when they're looking at art schools, and they're like, oh, this place it has such a high acceptance rate and like all of that kind of stuff, whereas like RISD is more expensive, but it's harder to get into, so it's almost more like at a prestigious level. I feel like SAIC made it a lot less expensive. They would get so many more students, and more students would stay. Like our graduation rate, I think, is at 60%. And I think the national average is like 45. So we're above that, but it would be so much higher because I know there's so many kids who drop out because they just can't afford it.
And the crazy thing is, like, they're not even the most expensive.
I know!
Yeah, like Parsons is more expensive. Yeah, I think Pratt is pretty expensive.
Yes, they're all so expensive, which is like, what about the starving artists? Remember, like, how artists are supposed to be, like, poor? It's like, why are you making these schools so expensive if there's that stereotype? You know what I mean? What else needs to change? Obviously, with that comes probably more diversity.
Everyone said this. Everyone.
I think, okay, so I think I have maybe a narrow view of it because I thought that SAC was so diverse because I went to my high school, so white. Like 98% white. Like I think there was maybe 5 black people in a class of 45, and then some Latin American, some Asian, but it was a very small, like I think the entire Asian population of the entire school was maybe like 8 people, very white. Anyway, So when I came to SAC, I was like, wow, all these international kids, this is so cool. I've never seen such a diverse group of people. And then other people would come forward and be like, this is not a diverse school. And I can see where that comes from too.
Mm-hmm.
I also think like the group of friends I've surrounded myself around are a really diverse,
You do
whether
have
it's
a
their type
diverse
of
friend group. Yeah.
whether it's their race, ethnicity, where they come from. I mean, a lot of my friends are international kids, and like that's so great. It's like really about who you surround yourself with. But definitely, as probably everybody said, the diversity rate can always go up anywhere. Literally in anywhere, it can probably go up. Any
Mm-hmm.
school, anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
Trying to think if there's anything else. I think that the teachers are underpaid, definitely, because a lot of them depend on. So I was talking to my photo teacher about how I didn't want to come back if we were going to be online because of coronavirus, and he was really worried about it because his paycheck obviously comes from us. But as a teacher he's on tenure, so he's been there for a really long time. Why wouldn't the school have like some kind of backup setup for him that would be like he would get paid maybe not the same amount, but a similar amount that would make him feel comfortable about staying, and you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I think that's just part of the education system.
It's insane
too.
though because Elisa Tenney's um like salary is like 600 something. And like I feel like you can lose I feel like you can lose some of your paycheck. Like I don't
Yeah,
think
it's
you
like how
need to
Jeff
be paid
Bezos
that
can literally
much.
close every gap, and he chooses not to.
Mhm.
What's that about? He could end homelessness, but he doesn't.
Mhm.
It's
Yeah.
because capitalism.
Hmm.
It's very annoying. I think I think that's mostly it. For the diversity, underpaid staff, the dorms are nice, so I don't have complaints there.
Do
It's
you
a
want to talk
really good
about your
school.
dorm experience?
Sure. I was at the dorms for the past 2 years. Let me just say, okay, hopefully my roommates won't see this. I did not have the best of roommates. As in, I think they're lovely people. I would just not choose to live with them again because I think they work better living by themselves. But the room, so big. The loft is very nice if you want to have your own space, like away from your other roommates. It's almost like an entire new room.
Mhm.
And it is small. Like those ceilings are very low because you're obviously close to the ceiling, but it's nice. And I mean, it's a twin XL bed. Like that's
The
terrible, but
ones
like
in Jones are huge. The
the
lofts
beds.
in Jones. No, the lofts.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Yeah, cuz I've seen like a loft in Jones where like you can stand in it. Yeah. I
It's so
mean,
funny because everyone shits on Jones so
yeah.
much. Everyone's like, I'd rather die than live at Jones. I was like,
I mean that's kind
as
of how I
like
feel
my
too. That is kind of how
mm-hmm.
I just don't I don't know. Something about it, but like I had a friend who had like windows in her bathroom and I'm like a windows person, so like I love windows and she lived in Jones.
What?
Mhm.
Okay, I literally would have lived at Jones. I don't care about the shit I would get. I would do it. Then live at Jones, everybody. Even if people shit on you, it's a lot nicer and it's quieter. Okay, so if you're not a student who's like a super party animal and like just likes to have your own space and be quiet, go to Jones because Jones is usually really quiet and people are respectful there.
I think I
162,
just
like
don't like the
oh not.
hallways. Like that sounds so petty, but I really don't like the hallways and I don't like their kitchen setup. Like I
What's
really
the
don't like their
difference
kitchen setup.
between 162 and Jones's hallways?
They're really small. Um,
Oh,
yeah, like really small and like it's like a little I don't want to say claustrophobic, but it's just like it looks like a regular dorm hallway. Like you know how like SAIC 162 like that hallway's huge. Um but I do think like their entryway is beautiful. Like those stairs are
I
lovely
know, right?
and they are
So
super
anything go up
close
with it.
to they're so close to like Sharp. Um
Yeah.
and like I think their rooms are nice. I think I just like the layout better of SAIC. I mean, not SAIC, of 162.
Yeah. I um I lived at 162 both years. 1 year was in a double, and then the next year was in a triple. If you can afford a double, or I mean, obviously, if you can afford a single, get a single. But if you can afford a double, get a double over the triple because honestly, like I think it's only like $200 cheaper. It's not worth it unless you have the loft because I hated being so close to my other roommate when I was sleeping. Like I had no personal space at all. And like it's just another person you have to juggle their habits and what they want, which is great. Like you want to do that, but it's really difficult, especially like I had issues where she would keep the windows up at night, and then I'd wake up at like 6 a.m., but it didn't affect her because she didn't, you know what I mean? Like, if you can afford a double over triple, definitely do it because it's worth it. Unless you're getting the loft.
Mm-hmm.
But I actually chose not to get the loft both years because it made me, I think it makes me a little claustrophobic at 162.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I get a little lightheaded when I'm up there. Also, pee.
Wait. You're
Looking on that
you're
ladder in
breaking
the
up.
middle of the night. That does not
Rewind.
sound.
You said P what? You
I'm
broke up.
breaking up?
Yeah.
Maybe that's the world telling me not to say this, but oh well. I said peeing would be difficult in the middle of the night when you have to go down the ladder from the loft.
I think
it says my internet's unstable.
Oh.
Can you still see me?
Yeah, I can still see you. You're fine.
Okay.
I think like in the singles in 162, the lofts are better than like the lofts and the doubles. Because the lofts and the singles in 162 are bigger than the lofts and the doubles.
That's messed up.
Yeah, but like in the loft, you do have a bigger bed. You have a full instead of a twin. So.
Yeah, and if you have a single, you get the loft and you get the floor, which is very nice. It's like your own studio apartment, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you do the dorms, it's not that bad. We probably have the best dorms in the entire United States. You get a stove. It's big. It's so big. If you get a corner room, you get windows on like 2 walls. Yeah. And even I lived in a non-corner room the first year, and I still had like not floor to ceiling, but like you
had really big ones. Yeah, because you were facing the like Chicago theater side. Yeah. I loved your freshman year room.
Yeah, that was nice.
What about, was there anything like that you feel like you should add before we go?
Yeah, let me think.
Like, it can be about photography, like your department. It can be about, you can give some advice, which I've been asking if people want to do. You can say something about the school.
I'll say this. There are going to be a lot of people there that think they are hot shit. And they will form a group, and they will seem like they are the elitist people at that school, and that they're going to be famous, and that they're the ones who are going to make money. But you just got to focus on yourself, because I was very caught up freshman year about having a group and like going out and having fun and like establishing myself. But once I started to just focus on myself and what I wanted to do, that's when I started attracting people I actually liked. I mean, besides you. You're like my only friend from freshman year that I still like. And I started attracting people that I liked, and I started attracting teachers I liked, and I think that those groups can be super intimidating, but you will form your own group, and that group is going to be 1,000 times better than this popular, super elitist group, because you know that their relationships are all super, surface level about how they think they're all hot shit. And also, do not go to the dorm meetings. They're useless. Or the floor meeting.
I think freshman year, they're very useful.
Yes.
Freshman year only. I think after you're a freshman, I don't think they benefit you because it's the same structure from freshman, because like you hear about like when you're supposed to like do certain things and like check, it's like, I didn't have time to go to any of my second year because of fashion and my job. So
make sure you research how much work each department is. Because if you go into fashion, think it's gonna be easy. Hell no, it's like the hardest department to be in. Same with like art and tech and stuff like that. The other last thing I'll say is that a lot of people after freshman year want to rush out of the dorms like so fast. Like they want to find their own apartment in the city and they want to be by themselves, which is so great. But I found that like I really missed the community that left when I was a sophomore in the dorms. You know what I mean? And I was on the floor with Lo, and so it was so nice when I got to run into her and Justin and everybody and Harold and you sometimes, because they were just across the hall. Like, that's so nice. I would recommend staying in the dorms for 2 years if it's in your budget, because you really isolate yourself and those people you live with from a community, which is so difficult to have already because we're in downtown Chicago. You know what I mean? Like, the school has a hard time having a community. And I think the dorms is the one way you can, like, also meet people and stuff like that, like friends.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, and use the studio. Use the 17 studio. A lot of people don't do that.
Or 6.
But you can like.
Oh, gosh. What are you
Oh my
saying,
god.
Mom? Mother?
That's okay. I
That's
respect
fine.
it. I love your mom, even though I've not met her.
Yeah, she is great. She just always asks me questions when I'm doing stuff.
Me too. And it's like, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, I cannot hear you. And she won't get any closer. And then she makes you get closer.
Mm-hmm.
So annoying.
Well,
Anyway, I hope that was, I hope I didn't sound stupid.
no, you didn't. I don't think you did.
Okay, good. I hope you have a good rest of your day, even though it's probably going to be super busy with interviews and stuff like that. But, I'll try to send you pictures of myself
Thank you.
to use in the thumbnail. But if you want to use your photo shoot ones, go for it.
No, send me your pictures, but also let's say bye to these potential people watching.
Oh, gross.
You
just joking.
You can just.
What do I need to say?
No, you can just wave. It's like not even that serious. Yeah.
Have a good day, everybody watching this.
Okay.